Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Grateful Not Greedy podcast. My name is Kris, and I'm here with my very minimalist, very well organized, and intentional co-host, and her name is
Rachel. Hi, Kris.
Hey, Rachel. Okay, Rach, I am really always glad to talk to you, but especially today because I want to update you, as maybe you can see, since we're on video chat with each other. Today I'm in a hotel. And I'm enjoying my hotel space so much. And I thought, what better time to talk about this very elegant topic than today while I am in a perfect, clear headspace of being in a hotel. So I think today, let's talk about why we hold on to things that we don't need or that don't give us joy or that require the just in case I might need it questions. Why do we hold on to things? What can we do to maybe purge some things? What opens up from doing that? All the conversation around the greed of holding on to things and not purging.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The timing. I mean, I know you're in the right space right now to have this conversation.
I'm in an
But
amazing
I just,
space because I have nothing here. I have a tiny little suitcase. I've got like a
yeah,
bathing suit
exactly.
and a workout clothes. That's it. I'm good. I don't even know if they put Bibles in the hotel. I should look. I don't even know if they put
I,
Bibles in the drawer
you, didn't,
anymore.
you didn't even open the drawer. Right.
I didn't open the drawer.
No,
Okay.
last weekend I had one of my girlfriends from Oahu come in to visit. And really the only reason she came is because she's really good at purging and at minimalist. And she's like, I will come and help you because it is not an easy thing for me. And so
For any
I'm
of us, I
feeling
think for any of us, Rach, yeah. Except her. Maybe her. What am I saying?
And I am so grateful that she came out to do this with me because, like, it really helped getting some of this I mean, we didn't get through the whole house, but we got through, like, at over 50% of it.
Oh, wow. I thought you were just like talking your closet.
No, 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 no. We did the kitchen, the pantry, the bathroom, the my upstairs, yeah, like, my whole all of not just my closet, but all my drawers, everything. Yeah,
Oh, okay. This is going to be a very fruitful conversation then.
yeah.
Thank goodness. That's amazing. Because I don't do my house, Rach. I just leave. I just excuse myself. I just create a totally new environment. I don't actually become responsible for purging anything. I just leave and move on. That's it.
Just board it up and, like, start over.
You just board it up. So you
Yeah,
were
it's
actually the more impressive one in this conversation. So yes, congratulations.
yeah, it's not done, though, and I actually thought I would get more done, like, today and some yesterday, but I think I need actually to take a moment of break 'cause it's tiring. It is tiring to go through.
I would imagine it's emotionally tiring. I imagine it's tiring in a lot of ways, like physically, emotionally. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and, but I also know I've started, and it's so funny, I'm sitting in here, like, my office/yoga room, and I, like, can kinda see in, and I see another spot, and I'm like, "Oh, that's there, it needs to get done." And,
Yeah,
it was like
now you're like on it. Like everything has to be cleared. It has to be done.
exactly. So
Well,
I'm trying
probably
to
because you're
not
seeing the fruits of it too, I would imagine, like, okay, first let's
totally.
talk about what was the impetus for it? Like, what was going on that you said, "I need to purge?" Because I think a lot of us feel this way. It's just like at least I for sure do in my house when I'm looking and I really wanna be able to clear out this pantry that I have, this kinda like storage-ish pantry, and I feel like I've half cleared it out probably, 20 times, but it has like a bottom drawer that has, like, some of the
That's
kids' shoes from when they come in from the garage. My kids, I use that term loosely. I have young adults. And then it has, like, the old batteries, the old chargers, like, all that kinda stuff that's there. And then it has a shelf. I put outlets in the back of my pantries so that how it plugs in, like, the mini vacuum, like, rando stuff like that. And then the top shelf has now become, accidentally, like, where my wrapping paper goes that I just can't put away. Like, I don't have any place to put it anyway, so it's just, like, the wrapping paper goes up there. There's, like, birthday paper up there. There's probably Christmas paper. I don't even know what the heck is up in that top little shelf. And then the top shelf is literally almost has become, like, long-term storage. And to me, that's criminal because that doesn't need to be like that. So, I haven't yet had the mental, like I said, just the nudge to be able to actually execute. I execute in my garage all the time because that's what I walk through, but the other stuff that I can close the door on, I feel like I don't get to that. So tell me what happened for you because you could probably help me in getting to there.
Yeah, that's interesting 'cause, a lot of people, when I was saying, "Oh, Carly is coming to help me clear out," a lot of people are like, "Your house is so organized." And I was like, "You haven't looked behind the doors."
Yes, and organized and having room to let go is different though too,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's definitely stuff I felt this around I was it was at the beginning of the year we were talking about this, and this was the weekend she had available, so we just booked it long before. And I was just getting the urge. I was like, I was looking around thinking, this I don't need all of this. And I'm also, as my son is a just over a year, a little bit more than a year before he comes out, I'm thinking there is a lot of stuff in here that I'm one person. I really don't need,
Yeah.
and I think there's part of me that, like, wants to be prepared for everything, and I really don't need to be. And especially now at this point in my life, I don't need to be.
Yep.
And it just builds up and it takes up my energy and my space, and some of the things are from the old part of me, the old me, and that's where I felt like it was time to, really purge because I am they represent the past me, not the current me, and I don't wanna be the past me, so why am I holding on to that stuff anyways? Um,
And it keeps you I this is such a difficult again, this is one of those conversations, I'm like, "I totally am chilling, Rach, I'm sitting here in the hotel, like, no problem having this conversation," and then as we get to, what, 3 minutes into it, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, holy cow." I just wanna acknowledge the greed that I have around this conversation because the greed for me is, an insatiable almost attachment to things or to, like things that my kids did when they were children or whatever, the fear of letting go of that, and then all the identity that goes with that. But what I'm realizing already in this conversation is what that keeps me from, right? That keeps me from my future. I'm like looking in the rearview mirror big time, right? Everything for me, like, because anything that I'm clearing out has already happened. That's not something that's going to happen. That's not something that is happening right now for the most part, unless you're cooking dinner or something, but, like, that's not something that's happening right now. That's something that has happened rearview mirror. So you're just actually already making me reflect in what am I holding on to? What is that greed about? Like that over attachment. That like that just in case I might need it. My kids made it. I spent this much for it. It's so well made or it's beautiful, but I don't need it or use it or like it even, but I know that it's really, well made or something like that. But I think that's filled with greed and that's filled with scarcity. And we've talked before about my difficulties, struggles with scarcity mindset. And I think I can call myself out here too, because that is like holding on to something that's not future based.
True, true, and it is, that piece of, like of what you said, this is special or made well or valuable, and that doesn't, y that is a struggle for me too, 'cause, you think about it, but then I'm thinking, for me, is it special? Does it I mean, you could go back to the Marie Kondo stuff where you're like, "Oh, does it bring me joy?" And certainly have that conversation, um and some things were easier, because I had people there to help me, and I think that that was an important step for me to have someone help me and be like and I would explain why it was important, and they would just tilt their head and be like, "Are you done yet?"
Oh, yeah. That would be
Right?
hard.
Like
That would be hard because
yeah,
it's almost like, are they yeah. I mean, just that's very tough love.
it is, and I actually wanted that, and they knew that, and it wasn't like it was another girlfriend that came over too for a good part of it, so I had 2 of them. They're double teaming me over there.
Totally.
And, that's probably why I'm tired. And we didn't do it the whole weekend, we took a break. There was one, 24-hour period we went and had fun here, because I needed that. But it actually it was like a reward after doing an intense day to have a break. But, to look at these things and have me really assess, like, do I really need that? Do I really want that around here? Do I want it to take up space in my life? And am I gonna have is it how am I gonna use it in the future? Like, how is it gonna support me in some way? Is it gonna be beneficial? Is it, going through my kitchen is hard. I love to cook. I spend a ton of time in there.
Yes.
But I don't need everything in there. And I certainly my food, the way I prepare things and the way I do things continues to change and evolve. And I don't go backwards. I go
Right.
forwards. And that's true in all of the things that we have in our house. We don't tend to go backwards. We tend to go, or I hope, we tend to go forward. And so to be able to look at that and say, yes, that was a fun experiment, or I liked making that then, but that's not who I am now. For example, I came across like a little sushi maker, which had brings so many good memories because Dax, my son, loved to make sushi, and
Right.
it's perfect
So
and it's
fun.
little, and like we'd have sushi nights, and he could make them in this little sushi press thing, and I was explaining it, and they were kindly looking at me, smiling. He can roll his own sushi. He doesn't need a sushi maker now. I'm like, I don't know why I'm holding on to this. Like, and it was like in that moment, I sat there and I thought, okay, yep, I got
Okay.
it. And
You're
I just
right. You're
stopped
onto
talking.
something, actually.
I stopped talking and I just put it in that pile to give away.
Yeah.
Just moved on. Um, and some things are easier when you have someone to give it to that will enjoy it and that will benefit from it. So I can
Yeah.
let things go a lot easier in
That's
that.
but that's yeah, I yes, and it's trap. Trap, 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 trap. Well, I mean, because I can't tell you how many times I've had things in my house, and this is personal, but I think it applies to everybody, where it's like, if I have, "Oh, you want this? Oh, of course. Yes, take it, take it." I've been meaning to find someone right up, so maybe manifest it, but in the same light, waiting for that person is out there. They're just not at your front door, with their hands out waiting for it. That person or that charity or that preschool class or whatever is out there. And yeah, I've had to overcome that a lot. Even just with giving away clothes or things to like Goodwill or anything, all
Mm,
these it's all part of the same cycle of life, right? So whether I
mhm.
am able to isolate something and say, "Oh, great, I have this person that I can always give the handovers to in clothing or whatever," which half the time they don't even want, maybe, I don't even know. But thinking of the larger, there are whole organizations dedicated to your gently used things, right? Your things that
Yes.
someone else has a little child that does need the sushi maker, that does need that, and like we hold on to, well, I need to make sure that, he has his own sushi maker. That's what comes to for me is the attachment to I can't go back and my son can't be 3 or 5 again, right? I can't go back. A long time ago, one of my friends said, each year have your kids write their name or a little sentence in their handwriting so that each year you can see the progress of their little handwriting, right? So I have some of that stuff. Great, but that doesn't have to take up my what 5 by 5 square. I don't know how tall of the amount of projects or things we've talked about. My daughter made this globe. I mean, that's a small example, but I have things that I think that's the piece. There's many things that I struggle with, but one of them is that you can't go back and make your kid that age again. You have to, like, free that in your mind, and like you said, that it's yes, he can do his own thing, but, like, in your mind, he's still sitting next to you doing it with his little sushi roller, right? So how do we clear that out? And it's the thing about even a little sushi roller is, for me, what gets kind of caught up is the things that don't take up much space. My house is a certain size. This isn't going to take up that much room. So what's the gain in getting rid of this one little sushi roller? So maybe speak to that because it is, of course, if you have like a couch that you don't need, your 4 couches, like, okay, one of them has to go. But when you have just like a little sushi thing, a little, 2 extra souvenirs from your trip or, an extra t-shirt of his when he was a kid or something, or yours, right? What do you do about that? Like, how did you all manage? those kinds of things. Or what about the sushi roller? Because it's not that big. It's not like that just wasn't a make it or break it item in your kitchen.
Yeah, I don't believe for me it was the size. It's the size that I look at when I look at things. I don't think, "Oh, this is small, I can just put it back." I think it's a thing. It One thing versus one thing. I'm trying to get less things. So if this thing is not the thing, it's going out. And so for me, that's not the issue. And I think once I got on the right mindset, finding those sushi roller type of things were easier for me to be like, that's the sushi roller. It served its purpose. It was super fun, but we are not. I do not have a little kid anymore. He can roll his own sushi. We are in a different place now, and there are other things that I know he would find joy in cooking with me or cooking on his own, and that doesn't need to be one of them. So that was easier, but the size thing is interesting because I have, when you walk into my house, it's kind of a big open area, and I've been struggling with the first part of it, which had like a chair, two little chairs, and a little couch, and a side table, and I realized I actually just want that as open space right now. And
Oh,
so I moved everything out of that area, and I move it out of there a lot, like for teaching like yoga
right.
and
I
stuff
know
like
that.
that,
Yeah.
which is great. The furniture is easily movable. But I realized I want more space in my life right now. I don't want more stuff, I want more space. That's kind of what I've been feeling this year. And so I moved the stuff out of there to try it. And it was funny, I had people over and one woman walks in, she's like, "Oh, I like the dance floor," which is funny because that's what we used it for Galentine's, like, it's the dance floor.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Um, so now I have an extra side table and an extra 3 chairs.
So
And
where did
I
those
don't wanna
go?
get
Yeah.
it's
Like
so
what are
they're scattered in the house right now. But
okay.
they don't fit anywhere, and I love these chairs. They are
I
unique,
know.
they are
There we
vintage,
go. Yep.
yeah, and so here I am in that conversation that I love these chairs, and I you can't find them anymore. They are
I
vintage, I've
know.
had them redone, they
Yep.
are the perfect size for me, they're super comfortable, but I don't know when I'm ever gonna have room in my house for them. So anyways, I just looked at them and I was asking a friend and they said, you can just wrap them up and put them up into your garage for now, just to move them out. And if you don't think of them in 6 months or 12 months, then maybe you sell them and find someone who would really appreciate them. And I was like, okay, so maybe we can take this in stages. So I can move it slowly out of my realm. Some people have, a storage area they put stuff in. If they don't grab it for 6 months or a year, they can go then let go of it. Um, but those things that I do have those things that are harder for me to get rid of because they are harder for me to replace. And
Yes. This is like my
a-
kids' art from when they're 3 or yeah. Yeah.
these are less emotional, but more. Yeah, so the kid art thing, I pare down, I go through it, and I think I just want a couple pieces of representation for different phases of his, art time. And so once I have the big pile, I go through it and I can, condense it down to represent kind of, the first years of school and then the next and that type of thing. But these big things are harder, and so now I have a path for that. Like, I understand what I could do to see, where that how that might work for me. But it's it is fatiguing to try and figure out these things, and if I want space, I have to create it. And, I think you said, "Wouldn't it be great if we could just hire a couple of leprechauns to come when you're gone and they just clear it all out," right?
I was seriously, I'm sitting in my hotel. I'm like, "Hey, you know what I'm gonna do instead of actually doing anything about it, I'm just gonna yeah, I'm gonna wait for the leprechauns to come and clear out my whole house and, ransack everything." Or like, "Oh, that doesn't work. Oh, there's, honey all over that now, and then my little dog can be tied up so I don't have to, like, little like
Yes.
jolly green giant kind of way, so that I could just relax for a little bit too." But you're challenging my
Yeah.
thinking so much um, in all the little ways about how I mentally and personally and physically hold on to stuff because the how important it is to me and the irreplaceability of it really drags on me. Like that real like
Mhm.
I can find a spot for the sushi roller, or I could find a spot. What is my version of the sushi roller, right? So that's why I think when I was up in my attic getting stuff down to the holiday, we recently had a little holiday weekend, right? So I have, we've talked about this before. I'm definitely organized. A box for each holiday, box, a box, a box, or the bag for Halloween. Here's our Halloween decorations, spot, whatever. One day they're out the deck. I'm really good like that. But I went up there to get something, one of my other boxes down for the holiday. And in looking for that box, I scanned across the attic. And on the other side of the attic, I've lined up all my kids separately. Each of them has their own little section. And my young daughter's little section was her little backpack from when she was 6, totally and completely preserved as of the last minute that she used it with her little, their little, like, keychains that they hang on to it and all her stuff from Justice, like, what else? All it and to me, it's almost like a little museum. Like, it's almost like a little museum piece, and it's a museum that only I would pay admission to, maybe my husband, maybe the grandparents, and, but it's so special. But honestly, I was thinking when I did that, and now that we're having this conversation, it's difficult because if I would have just been like, "Oh, this is," which I have many of many, I believe I've had a lot of backpacks through my house in this lifetime. But this particular little backpack, and I just remember her with this little backpack. I remember when she bought it. I remember how excited she was. I remember everything. Since I've waited so long now, and now there's 10 years between my memories of her in this little backpack and who she is now, it's harder for me to think about getting rid of that little backpack. And if I would have just moved that little backpack along at year 6 instead of year 16 plus, I it probably would have been easier for me. Like so many of the toys and so many of the things that have come through this house, it's easier when the time frames, because 'cause you're still experiencing that. I think that's what we're talking about, this, like, past, present, future, right? You're still experiencing that. And now I'm, like, living in the past a little bit with a lot of this stuff, and that keeps me from envisioning or just allowing, like you're saying. It's like what you just said about cooking was really important, because you're like, "Okay, well, he can roll his own sushi, and he can do all these other amazing things that we might need space for or that I could create space for, even if that space is only mental." Because the greed is so all over this conversation because my greed is, I might need it, but I think that's less of my issue as much as it is like, this is a beautifully well-made piece, or I can't replace it. Even if it's like my kids, I can't replace them being 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever. I can't replace it. And I think about the things that I even love. I even like my son's writings, like I saved those all these years, and and then I gave them to him this year for Christmas. I was like, "Oh, just that'll be a way that I can, like, recycle this." And I gave him to Christmas. He's like, "Oh, cool, whatever." And he read them really quickly. And then I was like, "Well, do you want them or do you need them?" He's like, "Nah." I'm like, "Nah, I've saved these things for this long," and I love them, right? So of course, but then I took, since he said that, I was like, "Okay, fine, great." I took pictures of them, sent myself a little note, put them in a little file on my computer.
Wow.
End of story. End of story. So, like, there are some ways to do that, but that, maybe that's counts under
There you go.
purging,
Right?
because the emotional attachment that I have to things, the past identities, even as a mom of, young little kids, that's an identity. Driving around in my little magic school bus, like, that's an identity. And like, just the guilt that comes along with that, the little
Yeah.
identity struggle that comes along with that, the little bit of insecurity about letting it go. And I am notorious for, I always say this, I'm like, I'm gonna get rid of something, and then a week later, I'm gonna, quote, unquote, "need" it. But the things that I know I can replace, or I know I could, if I had to get another one, I could, I feel like that's easier. But this kinda stuff, you gotta tell me how you went through this, because if you've been flowing through at your house, that you need to do more talking, because I need to know, because I, like you, am coming to the
Okay.
end of a cycle, and I wanna be more cognizant of it, more mindful.
Yes. So I think it sits in a couple baskets. Like there's the emotional one that is like the emotional memory of something that represents something. So it's not actually the item, but what it triggers for me or for the person holding it. And the interesting thing is a lot of that is not my thing, it's someone else's thing that I'm holding on to for them, right? Like it's something my
Oh,
mom
okay.
gave me that is important to her. She passed on to me, or something that that my son made that, I'm holding on to. And he might not, but just like you, the writings with your son, right? And so I'm assuming
Yeah.
that these are important because they were given to me by others or created by others, and I'm holding on to them, and I'm their holder. And I was like,
Yeah, this is
I kept thinking,
tricky. Mhm.
that is not my job. I'm not here to hold on to people's stuff. I'm here to curate my life and have space in my life. And if they want something, they should hold on to it. And there is a piece though with the kids is they're just not quite there yet, right? They're not going to appreciate it
Yeah, but
quite yet.
that's also not necessarily, I mean, right? Like, I'm telling you, "Here's my son," and he's like, "Nah."
But maybe if you ask him that in 10 years or when he has kids in 15 years or something, maybe it'll be more valuable. But on the flip side, I think about it, and my parents don't hold on to some of my childhood stuff. And I looked at it and I read it, and maybe I held on to 1 or 2 things. The rest of it I threw away.
And you
And
haven't looked back. Like, you haven't looked back and said, like, "Oh, I really wish I could have
no,
shown my kid this," or
yeah, no. So for me, it was interesting because my girlfriends were like, "Let's not start in the kitchen because we know that that's a place that you love and there's so much joy for you and you host a lot of dinner parties. Like, let's not start there." And then ironically that morning, and making some matchas and getting myself, and I just opened a drawer and started going through it, and so my girlfriend's like, "I guess we're starting in the kitchen." And it was interesting that they thought it would be really hard for me, but it was actually easier because it is a space I use regularly. So I see the stuff pretty regularly, and I know what I use and I know what I don't use. And yes, there are things that my son made in there, like little bowls, but I keep those out and I try and use them. And because he did make them and they can be
I have,
useful.
like, 10 of those, Rachel, from one 6th grade kid. I have, like, 10 of these bowls, and I'm like, "I can use 3 of them, but can I use 10?"
No, you don't need 10. And I don't have that many. Luckily he only did 1 semester of ceramics. So we're good. We didn't do it for years. Um, so that was actually doing the kitchen was easy. Now we finished, I would say 75% of the kitchen. We didn't get all of the cabinets and drawers done, but a good chunk of them, the big ones, were completed. And that felt really good. And that actually propelled me forward. The pantry was certainly one that took a little bit longer, and there's a lot of stuff in there.
Do you
And
have, like, one thing in there that, like, that you let go of, that you kinda struggled with, that now that it's been a couple days that you like, that you're processing through? Because I'm thinking, like, I have an old when you talk about this stuff, I have an old waffle maker from my mom that I don't think it was my mom's. I know my brother has one and I have one, and I forget. One's from the mom and one's from my great aunt. And, it's just like I would never get rid of that. I don't
yeah,
use it. It's not that I would never use it. I just don't use it. So do you have anything like that that you were able to to move on? Okay,
yes,
tell me about
I
that
do.
because this is a massive area of growth for me emotionally so that I can move into the future and not be stuck in the past. Contemplating. Is it contemplating? It's
Okay,
in
it's sitting in
purgatory?
my garage right now. No, so one of my girlfriends is like, "That thing you could sell." And she'll probably like, there it's gonna I'm not someone who likes to sell stuff, but she will, or, my son also doesn't mind doing that stuff, and so I'm good with that, like, and I'd also be okay with donating it. But it does have some value. It's called a chenois, and it's used strains food.
Nice.
Like tomatoes, it'll strain out all the seeds, like berries, passion fruit here,
Oh,
whatever, and it's
oh.
beautiful, and it was my great-grandmother's.
I can't even let you do it.
See, I'm coming
I'm
off as a
sorry, did I
bad
say that
person
out
right
loud?
now.
Did you hear me? Like, I lost
But
all the
here's
air
the
in my
thing,
body.
I
Yes.
yes, he did. I know. Oh, like, I am getting unliked right now very
No, but
quickly.
it's like that to me, I mean, honestly, it's palpable to me. It's so stressful. What you just said is so stressful. Like I have jewelry, not jewelry, like costume jewelry at my grandmother's. I have, rings that are not, it's not like heirloom quality stuff. It's just stuff.
Yeah.
And I have not been able to I actually did just get rid of a set of dishes. I was proud of myself in like the last year that I had that were uh like I said, grandmother's dishes that, like
Yeah.
I've had those because my mom gave them to me. So now it's my job to hold them, and I'm going to put that
Yes.
same burden on my daughters.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, "Here, now these are from your great great your great grandmother, enjoy." And they're going to, not ever look at those. Or maybe they maybe one little dish, maybe one
Yeah.
little thing, fine.
Well, so the Shenhua, I know that I haven't used it, and I used it when I first got here, and now I have faster, more efficient ways when I process a lot of tropical fruit. I have faster, more efficient ways, and that's what I need to be because tropical fruit, when it comes in hard and strong and a lot. And so I need the most efficient way to do it, especially like when we're talking about lilikoi or passion fruit. And so I haven't used it in years. And so that is my thing. I'm like, someone needs to use this. This is useful. It's beautiful. You can buy new ones and they're kind of expensive and they like, but it should be enjoyed. And that is where I am hopeful that whether it sells or I donate it and someone finds it and is like, oh my gosh, I love this thing. Or I remember when my mom had one of these and I want one. So I'm okay with letting that go, but it took me a minute to get there. And it is sitting in my garage, not because I'm having second thoughts, just because I'm debating if I want someone to sell it or if I should just donate it. But the dishes thing is one for me because I have my grandmother's dishes and then I have my own
Mhm.
dishes. And I'd gotten all of her dishes, which she had everything from like a soup tureen
The
to a
gravy
punch
boat,
bowl
the
to the
the
gravy
soft-boiled
boat.
egg
Yes.
holder. I can imagine.
Yes, totally, exactly. So she had all the things, and I had been holding on to them. I didn't have room in my kitchen, and I had my kitchen kind of rearranged, then I had room, and so then I opened up all the boxes, and I realized I don't want all of this, but I do want the dishes. So I basically took the dishes I would use, a couple of platters, a couple of, serving things, the dishes, and then the dessert plates, the dinner plates, dessert plates, a couple of the coffee cups and teacups because 'cause they're cute. I had one pitcher, which now I have, and I'm gonna pass it on because I haven't used it. But I pull out those dishes for, like, fun occasions, like, some holidays, I pull them out. If my mom's coming over for a birthday, I'll pull them out, and they're lovely, and it's fun, but it is literally less than a shelf in my
Right.
cabinet. That's how much I gave
And it's
myself to
almost
these
like a
dishes.
labor of love to it's not like you haven't missed out in life by having by holding on to those. That's the other thing. It's like, it's
Yeah.
almost like a problem with a solution without a problem, right? It's like I've got this great solution of all these dishes, but I don't have the problem of oh, I really need more dishes, or I really need this pattern, or I really want like these around. Yeah, I think that's kind of always difficult too when you're sitting there with all this. I have some really beautiful pieces that I've been gifted over the years, specifically dishes. I mean, we're talking there. I have jewelry too. I mean, I have tons of different jewelry pieces that are, again, not like heirloom quality kind of stuff. It's just stuff that I, like, but I'm not necessarily wearing it. I'm not using it. I'm not that. But being able to like mentally like let go of the, do I use this? Do I love this? Like, is it beautiful? Does it bring me joy? Et cetera, et cetera. But really, I think what you're hitting on so well is this who I am? Does this
Mm.
piece or this
Yeah.
group of pieces or this furniture the way it is or this it does is this who I am or who I'm channeling myself to be? And that to me is a lot of the letting go and the ability to kind of be that's the gratitude piece, to be grateful that you had that experience, to be grateful that you were in that moment, to be grateful that you had a grandmother who, was able to give you dishes that gave you the great love of cooking or being in the kitchen along with your mom. To me, it's being able to process the things through the feelings. Keep the feeling and move
Keep the
move
feeling.
through the thing. So even when you're talking about, like, keeping one dish, because you can generate the whole feeling of that entire set of dishes, I would imagine, from one example,
True.
from one, mug,
Right. And
or one dish or one set or whatnot.
right.
But, yeah, because for me, it's like, does it reflect who I am? Like, is
Yes.
this who I am?
And the pieces and how I know if it reflects who I am now is have I used it recently?
Okay, this is
If I'm
important.
not using
Yeah.
it, right? Like if I'm not using it, if I'm not going to it, if I'm not, then it definitely doesn't represent who I am now. And that's when I went through, looked at my grandmother's dishes again, and I thought, "I have used them. I have used these plates, I have used them, but this massive water pitcher, I haven't used.
Okay.
I like my glass ones better, they go with all of my all different plates, all different vibes. I don't need to hold on to this pitcher. I thought I did, I don't." That went out, right? And I still have my grandmother's dishes, the parts that I use. And that's true. It's not it's the question of it doesn't represent who I am now. I know that if I've used it. The same thing with
Yeah, or
clothes,
I'm
right?
thinking books.
Same thing.
Yeah, there's, like, so many examples, like, the books for sure.
Books.
I have a
Yeah.
whole I have a whole, credenza filled with games, board games. Why? Because I taught my kids how to play games when they were kids. It's like it's a thing. I also love games. Every once in a while for Christmas, one of my kids or my husband or whatever will give me, like, Battleship or something 'cause they know I love games, and they'll humor me, and they'll play with me for, like, a little minute, but as a general rule, I can say with pretty good confidence, like 80% of those games we don't use. We just are not getting them out, right? And the
Yes.
books, I've already read the books and I
Well,
like to have them there just in case, or I like to reflect on what I've done in the past. But that's not like the books that I'm reading now or what I want to read. Aside from, I have classics I'll never get rid of just because they're important to me. And they do bring me great joy still, even just to look at them. And they are part of my ongoing existence. But yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, because you know that.
I did go through the books, the ones that I chose to hold on to were the ones that I've gone back to multiple times and then that I have marked up, like the ones
Outlined or
that
something.
like for
Okay.
me, that tells me that those are ones because I do use an e-reader now, but there's some books I physically like to hold. And so those books I chose, but I got rid of over 75% of the books that I had sitting there, and I did the same thing with, like, my yoga books too. I have accumulated a lot and
Oh,
picked up a
wow.
lot through travels and trainings in India
Yes.
and all of that, and the ones that I have gone back to multiple times, I will hold on to, and, the ones that I haven't tell me that they don't serve a purpose for who I am now as the teacher I am now, and,
Wow.
and as for clothes, that is pretty straightforward, if you haven't worn it in the last year, or when are you gonna wear it? What's it for?
I don't
The
ascribe to
the
that
year.
at all. Well, first of all, your clothing needs are different than most
I
people's
think
in
for
general.
okay, so in general but then there's also a challenge of that is I haven't worn it because it's something I use when I travel. I have to have a very different wardrobe when I leave the island. Like, my aloha
Yes,
sundress only
exactly.
applies to
Yeah.
Hawaii. It does not travel very well. So, I have to have a separate wardrobe almost to travel, especially anywhere that's not tropical weather.
Well,
Because
let me
it
just
just
give you an
doesn't.
example, like a true example. So this past holiday weekend, right? We were going out, our family was all going to brunch and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in my closet. And I went in there and I was thinking of this specific dress, but I went in there and got that specific dress and put it on. It's great, looks cute. I'm like, fantastic. And we go off to brunch, and I told my little daughter again, maybe it's just I'm too sentimental, I'm too attached to things. So, and the dress is very current. It doesn't look like, when I tell you the story, you're gonna be like, seriously. But I told my daughter, who is now 19, she's like, "Oh my god," both my girls were like, we love this dress. This is so pretty. It looks great." I was like, "Oh, thanks so much." I said, "Actually, this dress, I remember specifically wearing it at a mother-daughter event with my now 19-year-old daughter." And so she would have been like 6 or 7. She was 7, I think, at the time. And I said, "Yeah, and I wore this when you were a little baby." So I've had that dress for years and years. And for me, one of the things I think I've focused on intentionally over the last decade plus is buying clothes. I mean, I have some fast fashion, but generally in things that investments, like investment pieces, and buying clothes that I know will stand the test of time and that I will continue to love and
Mm.
appreciate and wear. I don't need 50 dresses, but I have, I don't know, 25, 30. I don't know how many I have, enough that I can kind of process through them. But I do have this is a tough one. I do have like a formal dress, this long formal dress that's really pretty that I have worn one time, Rach. And I keep thinking it still fits, it's still beautiful, it's still that like those are the things that and again, I would and this is where I think this conversation is complicated because I don't feel the need, and maybe this is it too. Like I don't feel the need to get rid of that dress on the daily. There's nothing that's pulling me that says like, I need to get rid of all these clothes or I need to get rid of this dress or that dress or whatever. I do have some stuff in there though that I've kind
No.
of either picked up from friends or kind of, it was in the pile of my daughters to like give away. And I'm like, oh, let me just see if I can wear this, like that kind of stuff. That I should let go. But the pieces that I feel like, yeah, that's where I get stuck now that we're having this conversation. I get stuck on I have room for it. It's too emotional or too unnecessary to let go of. And it's not the thing necessarily that's keeping me emotionally stuck.
Yeah.
But maybe it is because then I don't have room for other stuff, or I don't have room for even the things that I already have. We've already talked about this many times on this podcast about my struggles in my house. But yeah, I mean, how do we kind of move through all that?
There's so many layers to this. So I agree. Dresses, especially ones that are for unique events, hold on to them. I did not get rid of those. Like they because I can't. First off, I can't. Like, I can't. For example, I came across some of like my pantsuits, like and from work, and they would be like a beautiful black pantsuit, and it's like it would be very hard for me to find here. It still fits perfectly, and if I needed one, I would go get the same
100%.
exact one. So
That's
why would I
actually a
get rid
really
of
good
this
point.
one?
Yes. Would you buy it again today? Like, would you buy this today if you saw it in the store?
Yeah. And then would you
Yes.
buy the same thing? And there were 2 pantsuits. I was like, "Absolutely. There's a gray one and a black one," and I could see where those could be helpful. They would never come in handy here, but they would come in handy in other places. Those I hold on to.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
black leather blazer, absolutely hold on to because I would buy the same one if I needed one for travel and I was gonna go somewhere where it's chilly. Hold on to that. Have I worn it last year? No. Am I gonna wear it? It's timeless. I'm gonna hold on to it. But then, there are other things in there when we came across them that, love girlfriends because you put it on, at least my girlfriends, they will tell me exactly what they think of it. And they're like,
Nope.
who were you when you had
Nope. We're
that?
not
That is
letting you
not
leave
who
the
you
house.
are now. Like, that is not how, nope, doesn't do anything for you. Yep. Nope. That potato sack is, yeah. And I was like, but it's so pretty. They're like, it is a simple, beautiful dress, but it does nothing for you. And I have to remember I had a very different life before I lived here. And some of that stuff was from that life, a very beautiful beautiful dresses and stuff, and that were probably more conservative and like for events and things like that. And they said, I love that that still fits you, but it is not who you are now. And it is
Yeah.
true because I actually looked at myself in the mirror and I said, you know, this is not who I am anymore. Like, that is not who I wanna show up as, and that and then one of them was like I had
Oh,
said, "Oh, but I could wear this to a wedding," and they said, "No, you would get a cute flowy dress now. You wouldn't wear that structured,
yeah.
fitted," and it was beautiful, but it was also not
Oh, yeah.
where how I would show up now as who
Yes.
I am now. And so that's the other thing is, have you outgrown that person that would wear that? And then it made me look at my clothes differently. It really did. From shoes to dresses to, I put on a pair of like really nice wool pants and I thought that's not this cut, this is not who I am now. Um, I would wear these pair that, that fit better, that is, like, more fitted and, whatever, and it, um, I think that's where and if I put it on, do I wanna be that old person? Because that's what it represents to me, and I don't wanna be that old person.
Yep.
And so some things are timeless. Black suit, totally timeless. But some things really aren't. And even though that dress would look great at some evening event or wedding,
I'm
I would
sitting over here, Rach, like, why didn't she call me and send me the picture and say, "Do you need this?"
yeah, actually, yeah, there actually would be a couple of those in there that would look fantastic on you.
Kris. I have this little I know we're having a conversation about purging, but hey, I've got this whole dress. I'll send you a pic right after.
Yeah.
Maybe you maybe you'll I need it.
Yeah, and the funny thing is I keep thinking of you when I do this because you seem to dress, like, in a timeless way, and I don't feel like I'm that good at fashion and understanding. I mean, some areas, yes, but I think I'd evolved so much in my taste and my style that it it that I needed to release a lot of it, and I would say I probably got when I walk back in my closet, I had a section of hangers, like, wider than the screen of empty hangers that I had 0 empty hangers in my
Empty.
closet,
That's really
and I have
satisfying,
this
actually.
huge section now that's, like, you know.
Yeah. Especially if it's like you're saying, you're, like, dumping the versions, like, the old versions and the old versions, like, that's really satisfying. And maybe that's the difference because like I said, I don't feel like when I go in my closet, my only frustration in my closet is that I don't have more room to continue building on the same foundation that I've loved since I was whatever age, right? So I even said this, I was shopping with a friend last night. This is like a minor aside, but it'll fit
Yeah.
in. Shopping with a friend. We don't see each other that often. So she was getting some clothes and shopping, whatever. And it was like, "What about this? What about this?" So it's great because when you're with a girlfriend in the dressing room, it's an awesome time to be like, "Yeah, no, that doesn't flatter you here and that." And we're having little conversations about what works and what doesn't work. And the woman helping us at the store said, "Oh, I know." My friend said something like, "Well," it was like, "Do you want the size, 6 or the size 8 or whatever?" She's like, "Well, I always go with the size 8 because then, what if I need a little room, then I have it." And I was like, I've never done that. I've just been the size. I've always just, like, that's the size
Yeah,
that's coming home to
never.
me, like, that's the size. And, yeah, and even the woman helping was like, "That's so unusual." Like, "That's so unusual." I was like, "God, is it? Is it?" And so maybe this is all part of the conversation. It's just, like, knowing yourself, knowing what areas you could use some help purging, what part of yourself this is actually really now that you're saying this, right? If we're talking
Mm.
about what this represents about you, or does this represent your current self? There might be parts of me or parts of you that are current, that are complete, and in my world, my clothing is a area of completion for me. It's not an area of struggle for me. It's not an area of like, "Oh, I wish." My the game night and my kids' stuff and, the my bathroom accoutrement, those are areas of incompletion for me. Like, I'm not complete. I'm not living my best life in those other
Got
people,
it.
right? So, like,
Yep.
that's a really much you and you in your kitchen.
Right.
I feel like even though you got rid of the sushi roller and you got rid of grandma's dishes, but otherwise, you're probably relatively complete in the kitchen because that's like we're representing really who you are consistently, like throughout time. The one like the thread that stays is that. So even as we like process, who are we? What is this? How can I release things? I mean, the whole
That's a good
really
point.
important, like, concept of even being able to gratefully release things is, thank you, right? Don't we just take the little item? We're like, "Thank you for your service. You've been so great. I really loved our time together," and then intentionally let it go, like you said. Like, I'm intentionally gonna let that sushi roller go so that someone else can enjoy it. I'm intentionally gonna let that, the sifter thing, whatever you were saying was what was the thing you said it was your grandmother's that you had to get
The chinois.
the chinois.
Yeah,
But you're
it
intentionally putting
yeah.
that, to the side, and so, like, gratefully, gratefully, gratefully releasing and then clearing paths, but in areas where we feel complete, then it's just about refinement, it's just about making more room, it's about maybe organizing differently, that kinda thing. That I hadn't really conceptualized before this talk because there's so much pressure, I feel like, "Oh, you need to get rid of your stuff. Oh, you need to go through your clothes. Oh, you haven't worn it in a year, you need to get rid of it." I think maybe if your same friends came to my house and I'd be trying on those things. They'd be like, "Oh, you haven't worn that in 12 years? You need to get rid of that." And I'd be like, "I'm never getting rid of this. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm never getting rid of this." So, yeah, that's probably like elements that we can flavor in here so that all of us can think about what is driving this purging? Is it external again? Is it us? What's going to help us get there? So, I think even if we can
You know,
define. Go
I
ahead.
wanna before you go there, this idea that, we all have our areas, right? The ones that we've got and the ones that we're developing. And I would say that's a really good point because I feel like I've got my kitchen. Like I know how I have the pieces, I have the knives, I cook so much. It's very clear for me.
Yeah.
And when you go into my closet, it's not as clear. And that is because maybe it's not an area that I've always been really good at of, like, understanding, like, how things fit and fat and, like, living here versus being on the mainland and coming here and trying to adjust what I wear here and, all of that, that it's interesting to think of these as different parts of us. And I would say that
Yes.
the chef, the cook in me is pre-evolved and pretty well and I continue to experiment and play in my kitchen all the time, like, it's my joy. But the what I wear and the fashion part is an area that is underdeveloped in me.
Interesting.
And I don't know if it'll be fully developed ever because I live here that I have nowhere to shop. But it's just
But it's part of the evolution, which is why that part is so relevant. So if it's an
right.
area that's not complete, then that means you're in evolution. So that's probably even more capacity to dump the old, right? More
Exactly,
capacity to
exactly.
dump the
More
old version.
yeah, because that does not represent and because that evolution is still happening. And so
Yeah.
that would be true with books. That would be like in your
Yes.
book and library
I'm
area, that could be
yeah, I'm
in
thinking about my
your
books. Yeah.
yeah, that could be in your, like, hobby area, that could be, you know, and especially when you're talking about things that have to do with raising a family, those are evolving because our families are always
Yes.
like, the kids are growing up, so,
Yes.
like, to your point, your
Totally.
games, I've already purged my games, I did it a couple years ago, they're probably ready for another purge because my son is even older now, so, I could definitely go back and do that, but the first purge, man, I got rid of over half of them because I was thinking, "These aren't they weren't fantastic. If they were fantastic, I would hold on to a couple of them for when little kids come over, but the rest of them we're not using." And so that's where it gets, this is an interesting conversation of like when you approach your purge, where are you developed and fully like you?
Yes.
For you,
Yeah.
fashion closet for you, you are like, I mean, of all the people, you are someone who can buy a bathing suit for me and give it to me, and I end up liking it more than bathing suits I buy myself. Like, how is that
I
possible?
love
Who
that bathing suit on you,
buys?
though. It looks
No,
adorable.
but it's true, like, anything you have bought me for clothing, I wear till it falls apart because I, like, love it. I was like, "How does she do this? No one else can buy clothes like this." And I
I
can't
think
even
you're
do it
so
for
easy to shop
myself.
for. Honestly, I think you're so easy to shop for. I
It's
see things and I'm like, "Oh, this is totally Rachel. I'm gonna
it's
send it to her."
it's so true, and to me, I, like, go into a store and I'm, like, shut down, overwhelmed, don't know what I'm doing. Like, it just is so funny. So, this is where I know you're developed in that area. I am, like, still developing, evolving, and learning, and when you approach your purge, know that there's gonna be different ones that take different energy from you and that require
This is
different
really helpful. Yes.
expertise. Because
Yeah.
that is where that's the growth in this. It's not just to get rid of things, but it's also to understand who you are now. It's not to
Yes.
remember who you were, it's to understand who you are now and what you need today and what will be helpful in that process forward. And, it's a different way of looking at it. So, hashing this out has been really helpful for me as I have some of the important areas to still do in my house. Uh, but,
Well, maybe there'll be areas like of completion because I think yeah, because that is super helpful because I think that also uh, at least we've talked about the doing one drawer before. The clear I just clear off my if my island in my kitchen is clean, my kitchen is clean in my head, right? Just taking the like doing the little pass and obviously I think so many of us know like, oh, okay, you're gonna donate it, you're gonna sell it, you're gonna put it in
yeah.
the trash, like whatever. Like, okay. I think those are like basic. You can search on YouTube for 12 seconds and get that. But we're talking about such a different evolved way to even think about your boxes. Even think about, am I donating a part of my current self or am I donating some old version of me to allow in this future version? And that's where, we know with flow if we keep the cycle moving. But in the areas where you feel totally evolved and totally comfortable, and not just comfortable because you're stagnant, but comfortable and still free flowing. I love sh I don't shop for sports, but I love looking at clothes, and I love looking at, the windows when they've done them, and the shoes, and the way that, like, I love well-made clothes. I just enjoy it. I appreciate it. I think it's awesome. And just having that's still part of my life. That's always part of how I'm living and how I appreciate stuff. I remember you're gonna die. I can't believe I'm telling this story on this podcast. I was at an event at some point, and I have a bag that's really well made, that's, like, handmade and all this kinda stuff, and I love it, and it was something like, name something that's really precious to you, and you're talking to, like, some stranger next to you, and I identified this very specific. It's not even like a designer, and it's just, like, this very well-made bag, and I was like, "I have this bag." It was a guy, this great, young kid, whatever, like, I wasn't, it was not that long ago, whatever, and I was like, "Okay, let me tell you, I have this bag, it's really special, and it's the detail is hand done," it's from Italy, right? So, like, everything is meticulous, and I said, I love it, I appreciate it. When I take it out, I just look at it like a little piece of art, and he's like, "Is that really one of your most precious things?" I totally got shamed for it. So, I think that even in this conversation, it's okay. It's okay. If you're evolved in a way that is you're a great chef and you're in your kitchen, great. If you're evolved in the way that enjoy the clothes or the shoes that you buy, and everything's done within its means and you enjoy that, great. If you are one of these people who can curate or don't feel like, "Oh, I need to get rid of this furniture or move that furniture around," that is definitely an area of deficit for me. Definitely could spend time, moving furniture in and out and getting rid of stuff, putting in new or not any.
Yes.
I definitely have deficits. So just being kind to ourselves as we go through this, and even I would say, as a beginning, is to kind of take a mental, like, I'm not losing something. I'm just making space for more of who I wanna be or more of who I am. So if I can identify that 1 or 2 areas where I really feel like I am comfortable, I'm evolved, I'm good, like, I don't feel like, "Oh, I need to get rid of all these clothes," or "Nothing fits," or, I appreciate that as a conversation because there for all of us, I'm sure for all of us has something where we feel like a winner in our, in this purging cycle, right? So some people will have something that's very different from me. And I think a lot of times when you like look on YouTube or you get advice, it's kind of blanketed. I feel shamed. I do. I'm sorry. I just do. But when it's like, oh, minimalism, that changed my life, and this is why, da, 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 I'm like, I'm not a minimalist. I try to be. I would like to be. That sounds great, but you just kind of take on what someone else is saying. So in this conversation, being able to understand what letting go represents. Understand that letting go represents a thought to the future. You're not losing something, you're gaining something in the future, right? You are consistently evolving, holding on to what is your kind of safe space, right? Like what you do really well. And then just remind yourself that in gratitude, the greed is I've already, sunk costs, or I love it so much, or I can't get rid of it. I need to hoard it. That's the greed. And it's emotional greed, really. And the gratitude is the piece that keeps you grounded and balanced and appreciating and free, right? Because even if I'm not gonna go through and I'm not gonna purge all my clothes, I am grateful. I'm grateful every night for the bed I sleep in. I say it every single night. I'm so grateful for this bed. I love my little bed, love being able to go sleep in a nice bed. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. It's the same with clothes, right? Like I'm grateful for that. Keeps me grounded. So whatever it is that you're not going to be, you don't feel like, oh, I need to, purge through this, then be in gratitude, grateful, grateful, grateful. I'm grateful that this is an area that I'm evolved in.
Yes. Absolutely. And, this idea of there's not one way to purge your house, or there's not the right amount for everyone. It has to be what's right for me. And and one room might be very different than at someone else's version. Like someone
Yeah, and
else's
it's an
kitchen might be
expression of who
very
you are.
minimalist
Yeah,
compared to mine.
definitely.
I use mine a ton, right? And your closet is yeah, and your closet
Mhm.
is a lot more full than mine because I literally live in yoga clothes, bathing suits, and a
Right.
sundress. I don't need a lot of space. And so our closets are gonna look very, very different because we have very, very different needs. And that's what our environment represents for us, our homes, our spaces. Um, However, the process of letting things go, for me, when I look at this, is what is my challenge here? Why is this hard for me to let it go? What am I holding on to it for the wrong reasons or the right reasons? Is it going to serve me in the future? Does it bring me happiness? Like all of those questions for me to,
Right.
and only the person asking those questions of themselves can answer them. And that's the part of the exploration of purging that is interesting, and the idea also is you have evolved and unevolved areas, and the ones that are in active evolution will probably require a lot more purging because we continue to change. And so this has been a helpful conversation, especially as I approach the last third of my house in the next week or so to
Yes.
finish this up. So what I
Yes.
don't wanna be is in
Yes.
this half done phase either. I like completion. For me, completion is like a sigh, and then, I get to, like, sit back, enjoy the fruits of my labor. So, I am looking forward to the next step and being able to then, get to a place where I'm like, "I feel like this is done." I feel as if this process of purging is completed in my home now.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's true, and that's part of the whole process. So if, to encourage everyone, if you're listening to, like, I talked about my one drawer, honestly, one drawer at a time, one drawer at a time. If you can do your whole house and your girlfriends come, that's amazing. If you can clear off your kitchen counter, whatever it is that makes you feel like that's it. I can do my garage. Even if I do my garage 12 times, at least I'm doing my garage, like at least I have some way to express it. But I think your larger point and what we've really kind of been keep going back to on this call is, the gratitude piece is, I'm grateful for all these things. And that's the grounded piece. The gratitude is the grounding, right? So whatever it is, you're grateful, grateful, grateful. The greed is the instability. The greed is what keeps you, not feeling awesome, feeling unsettled, like you're saying right now. The greed is even like, oh, I need to get this done. But, when you get it done, you're going to feel more settled. But it's just that, just being careful in the grateful, not greedy concept is just to be grateful what you can get done and who you are, and for honoring really who you are in this world. And I would say, as I'm thinking about kind of the final summation is what I'm holding on to holding me back, right? So this is what we were talking about in terms of the clothes. I, I'm not anything that I'm holding on to in terms of my closet is not holding me back. But there are other areas in my house that I'm holding on to that probably are holding me back. And that's where I can focus, and that's where I can make progress, and that's where I can continue to evolve personally and get the joy of letting go through purging and just creating more space for not being held back, for being able to, like you're saying, it's like now we're in the arrow concept, right? Pull back that arrow and let it go into the future to be able to, to have the life that you're creating and to be responsible for that. So yeah, this has been amazingly helpful. Honestly, thank you, Rach, because I thought we were gonna have such an easy conversation as I'm sitting here in my nice clean hotel room with, like I said, a bathing suit and some yoga pants. That's about it. But, uh, but it's been great to go through it and really, be intentional about the way that we're thinking about. And I love the piece that we were able to flesh out about just honoring who you are in your life and in your process. And but there's emotional purging that we can do. There's probably, past relationships that we're holding on to. There's probably my kids at little ages that we're holding on to. There's this it's not just physical, right? There's physical stuff, there's mind clearing stuff, and all of it is, what are you holding on to that's holding you back? How are you able to honor yourself and know in the areas where you're complete, and then work on the areas that you want to continue to evolve. So, I love
Sure.
it. I
No.
love it. Any final takeaway that you need to say? Because this has been excellent. I really appreciate you.
Nope, I think I'm done purging.
Love it. Okay. Grateful, go on and gratefully release. You are going to gratefully release everything as you move through your house. So, yes, with that, this has been, is, and forever will be the Grateful Not Greedy podcast. And we will see you next time with your evolved state and your stuff purged. And this has been fun. Aloha, Reach.
Aloha, Kris.